Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the CEAT Limited Q1 FY22 earnings call hosted by Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then zero on your touchtone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Jinesh Gandhi from Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited. Thank you and over to you, sir.
Thank you, Malika. Good afternoon, everyone. On behalf of Motilal Oswal Financial Services, I would like to welcome you to 1Q FY22 post-results call of CEAT Limited. CEAT is represented by Mr. Anand Goenka, Managing Director, Mr. Kumar Subbiah, Chief Financial Officer. I would like to thank the management for taking time out for this call. I will now hand over the call to Mr. Goenka for his opening remarks. Over to you, Anand.
Thank you, Jinesh, and good afternoon, everyone. A very warm welcome to CEAT's Quarter 1 earnings call, and thank you all for your time and interest in CEAT. I'm Anand Goenka, and as Jinesh said, we have our CFO, Mr. Kumar Sabaiya, on call with us. I hope, first of all of you are safe. It's been a very challenging time over the last quarter for many of us and our families and friends. So, hope you are all well. As usual, we'll start off with brief remarks from me and Kumar, post which we can take up questions. With respect to financials, as we exited quarter 4, we witnessed a fall in domestic demand towards the end of April because of the COVID second wave and several localized lockdowns which happened as a result all across the country. As a result, May was significantly impacted, but by mid-June, we started seeing some green shoots in replacement demand. While OEM and exports was a washout during quarter 1 of the last year, sales were relatively better this year. On a standalone basis, our revenue for the full quarter stood at 1,898 crores, a year-on-year growth of 70%. Sequentially, our standalone revenues declined by 16.7% in quarter 1, which was partly aided by about a 4% improvement in overall realization, offsetting a decline of 21% in overall volumes. We saw close to mid-single-digit sequential volume growth in exports. OEM volumes declined by around 30%, while replacement volumes declined by around 20% sequentially. Trends were more or less similar across product categories. Our standalone gross margin continued to be adversely impacted by rising raw material prices and an adverse channel mix. Our raw material cost on a per kg basis went up by about 12% sequentially. As company margins were under pressure due to rising raw material costs, coupled with intermittent lockdowns, we took the conscious decision of reducing our marketing and other discretionary expenses in quarter 1. This, along with other cost-saving initiatives, helped us manage our overall costs despite ongoing ramp-up in capacities. Our standalone EBITDA margin for the quarter was at about 8.7%, a sequential contraction of 250 bps. We ended the quarter with a standalone PAT of 20 crores. Raw material prices remained at elevated levels. We continue to take staggered price increases to offset this impact. As a result of our consistent efforts to provide a better work environment for our people, we have been recognized as the top 35 best places to work by Great Place to Work Institute yet again. We've also continued to add some digital features for our customers and dealers, and some of these include image analytics and warranty registration, WhatsApp engagement for various customers as people are using WhatsApp as a preferred channel, and pickup at the store and home fitment of tires as we work towards developing an omni-channel offering for our customers. We also continue to work with our OEMs in building long-term relationships. During the quarter, we partnered with Olectra's EV bus and Okaya's EV scooter. some recognitions that we got. Other recognitions were that we got the best performer for extended support by Hyundai. We also received our Fleet Solutions business received an award on Mint Business Transformation Award from Mint. Recently, we also tied up with Tata Power to set up a 10 megawatt solar power in Maharashtra, solar plant in Maharashtra for our Bhanduk plant's power requirement. This is a step towards our goal around sustainable energy. We have committed to solar power for all our plants with either open access or rooftop. And we are targeting to meet 50% of our energy needs through renewable resources by 2023. Our Nagpur, Halol and Chennai plant buildings also received the Indian Green Building Council recognition Platinum certificate. CEAT also continues to be conscious of the safety of everyone around. We extend our support in all ways possible, including initiatives like donating oxygen concentrators, holding vaccination drives for our people as well as the communities, and also setting up fever clinics in rural and semi-urban Maharashtra. It's good to see the second wave finally declining, and we hope things get better going forward. With this, I'd like to hand over the call to Kumar Subbiah, our CFO.
Thank you, Anand. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen, and thanks for joining our Q1 earnings call. I'll share some further financial data points with you all, post which we can enter into Q&A session. First, revenue. Our consolidated net revenue for the quarter stood at 1,906 crores, a sequential decline of 17%, but a year-on-year growth of about 70%. The sequential decline in revenue was largely due to impact of COVID second wave. Now, gross margin and also some update on price hikes. With the rise in raw material costs, our gross margin adversely moved during the quarter and contracted sequentially by about 306 basis points, and our gross margin stood at 39% in Q1. The raw material costs have been increasing consistently and significantly in the last 3 quarters. The increase in the raw material prices during the Q1 was 12%. And consequent to increase in our raw material costs, we took price increase of our tires to the tune of 3 to 4% across categories during the course of Q1. Going forward in Q2, we expect raw material costs to further go up to the tune of about 3 to 4%. However, the price increases that we have taken till date are not sufficient to cover all the increases in raw material costs, and therefore we still need to take some more price increase in the current quarter to recover the impact of raw material cost increases. Third, some update on debt, capital expenditure and working capital. Our consolidated debt increased by 368 crores during the quarter as a result of higher level of capex in Q1 and also increase in working capital. Our working capital during Q1 increased by about 236 crores, primarily on account of higher inventories as of end of the quarter and also a decline in payables. As far as capex is concerned, we incurred a project capex of about 182 crores during Q1, and in addition, we also spent another 39 crores on some of the long-term cost saving and energy saving related capital proposals. Our project capex for the current year remains in terms of forecast as we had indicated in the earlier quarter to the tune of about 1,000 crores. And in addition to that, we would also spend about 150 to 175 crores of routine and maintenance capex. Next, I move on to operational expenses and EBITDA. We have been able to control our operating expenses despite ongoing ramp-up of capacities at different locations. As a result of several cost-saving initiatives, we undertook cost control measures during the quarter. On account of that, we managed to bring down our other expenses to the extent of 23.2% and also employee costs to the tune of about 4%. Our consolidated EBITDA was 173 crores in absolute sum, and in terms of margin as a percentage, stood at 13.1% for the quarter, and EBITDA margin contracted by about 265 basis points sequentially, lower than contract loss margin, and largely on account of a larger control on our costs. Depreciation and interest cost, depreciation cost went up from 90 crores in the previous quarter to 96.5 crores in the current quarter on account of capitalization of the assets in our new projects, and interest cost moved up from 40 crores to 46 crores on account of increase in debt during the quarter. Our profit after tax, as Anand indicated, stood at about 20 crores on a standalone basis and 22 crores on a consolidated basis. And our effective tax rate for the quarter works out to 28%. And tax rate is likely to be in the range of 26 to 28% during the year. Now let's open the floor for Q&A. Thank you.
Thank you very much. We will now begin the question and answer session. Anyone who wishes to ask a question may press star and 1 on the touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi, sir. So firstly, can we just tell us what kind of price increase you've taken across different segments, like two-wheeler, passenger car, truck and all, from December till June? And if there's any price increase in July so far?
Yeah, I think I'll share with you the data from April approximately onwards. Broadly, it's been quite consistent across categories. Between April 1st to current levels, it's been around 5%-ish price increase that we've taken, about 4% in quarter one and about 1 to 2% in July as well. I'd say truck bias has been slightly higher, maybe a percentage more, but largely across the board, it's been between 4 to 6%.
And the price increase that you've taken in July, that is from 1st July?
Around middle of July.
And that is in which segment, sir?
I think this was also largely across all segments taken.
Okay.
Kumar, would you have that data for July? Which segments?
Yeah, I have. Effective July, we took on a last mile radial tires PCUV from middle of July we took, and from early July some of the other categories.
Okay.
We also expect to take some price increase end of July as well.
And that could be in the range of 2-3% or lower?
That's right, 2 to 3%. End of July is what we've announced.
Okay. So you guys told that on a Q-on-Q basis, the RM prices are likely to go up by 3 to 4%, and some of the pricing that they'd taken till June of say 4% probably had come through in June month itself. So till date, whatever pricing you've taken in say last quarter and July so far, what will incremental impact in say Q2? Leave aside what it's going to take.
Right. We still do need to take some more price increase. As I said, as we saw that there was about a 12% plus say another 4% raw material price hike. So we need to take about another 4% to 5% price hike from now onwards to come back to normal margins. Maybe say about, if you say 10 to 12% is normal, we need to take that much more.
Okay, I got it. Okay. And secondly, on this interest cost element, it was around 45 crores in this quarter. Going ahead, do we expect further increase in debt from here? Because I think operationally things will normalize from Q2. So will the debt can further go from here?
Kumar, would you like to?
See, the debt level this year compared to last year our capex was kept under control. Okay, and our total project capex was around 460 crores only last year. Okay, and this year around we intend to take it up closer to 1,000 crores. So that could be one, and therefore that needs to be funded in the form of a debt. Okay, and second, there could also be working capital will also have to go up, keeping in pace with the level of operations. So we expect the debt level to go up during the course of the year. Okay, and therefore it will have some impact on the interest cost.
So even from Q1 levels, you expect the working capital and debt further to go up?
No, working capital, let's assume we should be able to maintain at the level at which we entered the quarter as of quarter one. Okay, and but we still have against 1,000 crores of capex, we spent little less than 200 crores only in quarter one. So balance will have to be spent. And this year we will also have a dividend outflow. Okay, last financial year we didn't have, because the previous year we had dividend payout, 2 payouts in the previous financial year. So therefore there will be some dividend payout which we expected to be around 74 crores approximately. So those things will have to be taken into consideration, and plus the cash profit part of it. So the debt level will go up during the course of the year.
Okay, thanks a lot. All the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Siddhartha Bera from Nomura. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks for the opportunity, sir.
Hi, Siddhartha.
On the demand side first, if you can highlight from Q2, have we started seeing growth on the volume side around 9 to 10% type of, I mean, at least some growth, because we have said that June we have seen a good recovery. So how do we see it panning out going ahead? Some thoughts there?
Yes. No, we are seeing a good uptick from the market. In terms of ultimately, I'd say they will be similar levels to last year post-COVID or post-wave 1 impact. So if you look at H2 kind of numbers, we are going back to that kind of normal levels of sales in that sense. We are seeing a higher uptick in the passenger car and two-wheeler segment. Truck may take a little bit longer. Right now, the uptick is higher in these two categories.
Understood. And just to summarize on the pricing part, so we took a 1 to 2% hike in July, and we think another 2-3% hike should happen by the month end, so as to neutralize most of the cost increases. Is it broadly correct?
I don't think it will neutralize the entire cost increase. So I think what will happen largely will be we will still need from now onwards. I think we have a couple of percentage points planned in end of July. We will still need at least another 3% price increase between, say, August, September kind of period to neutralize
Understood.
the price increases.
Okay. But I mean, in terms of segments in the past, we have seen in some segments like two-wheelers, we have not been able to raise prices to the extent required. I mean, going ahead, do you see anything of that sort in any segment where competition may not take price increases, or there is high competition which should not lead to such price increases? Any risk to that you see?
Right now, we are seeing quite a fair even increase across categories. The only category where we are seeing a little slower increase is on the scooter segment, which may be planned at the end of July. Otherwise, all categories are maybe a percentage point here up down. So some may be 4, some may be 5, some may be 6. But as I said, it's not a big difference between the various increases that we've seen. Scooter, there was a last price increase sometime in quarter 4. This last quarter, there's been no price increase in scooter.
Okay, understood. Okay, lastly, sir, on the OE and replacement mix, if you can share for the quarter, that will be my last question. Thanks.
Yeah, so replacement was around 55%, OE was around 25%, and export was around 20%.
Thanks a lot, sir.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Basudev Banerjee from Ambit Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, thanks, sir. Just a few questions on this last aspect only. So as you said that post the price hike in the beginning of July, some more price hike in July, and in coming months to neutralize. Am I right, sir?
Yeah.
So just wanted to understand that post neutralizing, what is the target level in terms of gross margin which you are benchmarking as such?
Kumar, would you like to share it?
Yeah, no. See, if you really look at our gross margin trend past many quarters, it has always been in the range of 40 to 42%. The quantum of revenue played a role in terms of EBITDA margin as a percentage. Okay, so during the last quarter, I think our gross margin was 38%. If you adjust for inventory difference, it could be a little lower also. I think our target is to go back to that level of 40 to 42%.
So basically, 58% RM to sales, so roughly 400 basis points of improvement.
Yeah, right. No, only clarification is these increases are happening at different points in time. Maybe we will exit at some level. Okay, for the benefit to come, full benefit to come, you have to wait for the following quarter. These increases will benefit at the end of the quarter. If these price increases happen, we would exit at that level, assuming raw material stays at the level at which we had forecasted and the price increase happens. But in next quarter is when you would be able to see that.
So Kumar sir, like entire industry, like in this kind of scenario, how to look at that from a percentage perspective or from a per kg benchmark gross profit per kg kind of perspective one should be targeting as such?
No, from our point of view, we look at both. Okay, and since your question was on percentage and therefore we responded. But for us, both are important. But the percentage understanding helps because EBITDA is always a percentage, and therefore from there onwards, when we arrive at EBITDA, it helps. But when we take pricing decisions, when we understand the cost, particularly raw material cost or realization, we look at the realization and RM cost in terms of per kg basis.
Surely, because as you said, 12% raw mat basket inflation, then further 4-5%. So the denominator inflation is so much that even if you try to maintain gross profit per kg, a percentage margin might look deflated.
True. That's true. Particularly if you only try to recover the increase in cost, okay, while we would have got the same gross margin per kg, but gross margin as a percentage would decline. So it's important for us to balance both.
So two more questions. Second, sir, the kind of price hikes which you, Anand sir, mentioned since Q1 and Q2 combined, especially the truck replacement price hike, which hardly happens such a quantum of price hike in such a short time span. So how are you seeing market accepting that, or that can result in subsequent discounting, etc. overall as such?
So I think at this point of time, as I said, we are seeing fairly decent growth. The challenge is there is a slower increase in demand in truck segment. Now that could be partly there is monsoon season. In part there is fair amount of price hike that has happened, and there is also some changes in overloading norms in the east. Now mix of all these reasons could be causing a slower uptick in truck. But other segments we are seeing largely demand to be okay. As I shared only the truck bias. Truck radial has been lower at about say cent price hike.
And last question for Kumar sir, like in this challenging times in terms of margin and adverse raw working capital and overall cash flows, and where capex requirement is also high. So it's now almost 5 years you have done a secondary market raising. So any consideration of taking that path?
No, I think Anand will only respond to this question.
No plan at this point of time. If there is a need at that point, we will share, but there's no discussion, consideration of going to the secondary market.
Sure, sir. Thanks. That's all.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Rishabh Dugar from CD Equisearch. Please go ahead.
So my first question is, in the replacement market segment, what would be the catalyst for business growth in this specific area moving ahead?
Yes, hi Rishabh. I didn't understand the question clearly.
Okay, let me repeat it again. So my first question is, in the replacement market segment, what would be your catalyst for business growth in this specific area moving ahead? I mean, in the replacement market segment.
Right. No, catalyst for growth means I guess is I would say bounce back of largely macroeconomic indicators, going back with mining activities, industry reviving. Generally, industry is doing well. There's a fair amount of cash in the market. Commodity companies are doing extremely well. So with some of these things happening and the COVID wave coming to an end, I think that is what will result in increased demand for at least the commercial vehicle segment. With respect to personal mobility, there's been some hit in the rural segment. And so again, with the wave get over, hopefully people will go in towards going back to buying cars, two-wheelers, and demand for personal mobility also going up during this period will spur demand. So these are the catalysts that I see for demand going forward.
Okay, sir. So my follow-up question is that in this replacement market segment, what is the one thing that you are most focused on this specific year?
In the replacement market, our most important priority category will be the passenger car segment. We are looking at winning in the passenger car space, where we've already established a very strong equity in two-wheelers. We are leaders in this segment. Whereas passenger car, there are a lot of synergies between the two, whether it is distribution, brand equity, and so on. So this is the big area that we are looking at focusing and gaining market share and driving growth. We are seeing great traction post wave 2 in the passenger car space. Last year also we gained market share. So, and that will be through OEM presence, through increased distribution, and new range of tires that we are launching.
Okay, sir, that's it from my side.
Thank you, Rishabh.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead.
Yeah, for the opportunity. First, housekeeping questions. One, can you indicate what is your total volume growth YoY or decline sequentially? And average effective price hike, because you have taken a staggered price hike during the quarter. So what is the effective price hike for the quarter that has been done? This.
So sequentially, we showed negative 20% growth. Year on year, we grew by about 70%.
At aggregate level, right? Or
in quarter one, yeah.
Yeah. And the price hike that has been taken in the quarter, given the staggered nature of price hike that we have done?
Would we have we've taken an overall price hike of about 4%. Effective price hike, maybe, I don't have the number, maybe about 2.5%.
Okay.
Kumar, would you like to
4%
correct that in case my data is not correct?
4% is the net realization improvement in quarter 1 versus quarter 4. To be precise, 3.8%.
So effective price hike is 4%.
Yeah, 3.8.
That would also be an element of mix in that, right?
Yeah, true.
Yes.
There's an element of mix. I think all put together, 3.8% price growth. Large part of it, we don't have the breakup of impact of price versus mix, and balance is volume.
Great. This is helpful. My second question is on demand in general. So versus OEM's indication, how are you looking at? Generally, you prepare yourself for what OEM guides, or you have your own intelligence and either overstock or understock yourself for the demand burst on the OEM demand I'm referring to? And where are you today in that assessment versus what OEMs are indicating to you?
So OEM does give us an indication for their demand. For replacement, of course, we know what is happening in the market. We work on a pull system in replacement market. So if there is pull for the product, we will produce accordingly. If there is no pull, we don't produce. Whereas OEM, they give us an indent, they give us an indication of how things are looking. Are they going to close their plants for a few days in the month, and so on and so forth. And so we plan accordingly. In terms of preparedness, there is no issue. So all our plants are running. So it's a matter of just producing more for their demand, and we have sufficient upside on capacity. So we are fully ready in terms of demand.
So my question was that when today OEM is indicating that for next month, say August month, they want to offtake X units, are you prepared for X units or you're preparing for X plus something based on your reading of general demand?
No, what they give us, we prepare for that. But we have enough capacity, as I said. So it is not difficult. It is not unless we are short on capacity because of demand across all categories or all markets being high, it's a different situation. But otherwise, it is very easy to take up capacity. Today, if we are saying we want 1,000 tires next month, and they say, no, we want 1,100, it's very easy to take up that 100 more tires.
Okay. And last question is just the pricing environment that we are seeing and its impact on demand. In the past, we have seen, at least in the replacement, that a continuous pricing environment for an elongated period starts denting the demand in some or the other form, either downtrading or general weakness in demand. How do you look at that particular mix? Because we have seen a reasonable amount of inflation in pricing from the end customer perspective. And while demand is yet to kick off because of severe disruptions that we have seen. While next 2 quarters we may be okay, but beyond that, how do you assess this demand curve given the way the pricing cycle is that we are in? Probably this is one of the steepest price cycle that we have seen at industry level.
That's right, for quite some time. I mean, I'd say the last, this kind of price hike happened maybe about more than 10 years ago. Rubber had gone up to 240 rupees per kg and so on at that point of time. But I would say certainly in the last 10 years, this has been the time where we've seen the highest inflationary pressure. But I'd say difficult to predict how demand will go. I mean, in a way, tires is a product which you need to replace. You don't have a choice. So you can delay it by a little bit here and there, but eventually it either has to be replaced or fitted in the new vehicle. So I don't see any major impact. In fact, I'd say that there can be an impact of the shorter term because of price hikes where people will look at delaying, but medium term things should normalize.
Okay. And just clarifying, Subhaya mentioned that your project capex is around 1,000 crore, right? So is there a scale down? Because I think the last quarter you indicated some 1,100 crore. So you have found some efficiencies, or it is in that ballpark 1,100 crore range? Or if there is a scale down by 100 crore in capex number?
No. The last time we gave a range of 1,000 to 1,100. I think we're maintaining the same thing. We are not scaling it down. Okay, unless we see some drop in demand and a change in plan. As of now, we are going with that plan.
And maintenance capex of around 150 odd crores, 150 to 200.
Yeah, maintenance, 150 to 175 crores level of routine capex, including molds and yeah.
Thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Pratik Poddar from Nippon India Mutual Fund. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Sir, I have just one question. Hi. Sir, just one question, and it's very heartening to hear. Like last time, I remember, March was a month for the industry which was the highest, and yet there were no price hikes. And this time, you seem to be more confident by, you said that in the end of July, we'll take a 2-3% price hike, and between August and September also, we'll take a price hike. So what is driving this? I'm just trying to understand that. That's it. Just one question, sir.
Yeah. No, I just said that in August, September, we need to take a price hike to neutralize. It may not happen either. So I'm not giving an indication of a price hike in August, September. I hope we are able to take it. But in the month of July, we have announced a price hike. So that is likely to happen. So that's where we stand. But I still don't feel very encouraged, because we need to make sure we are still lagging, as I said, by about 3 to 4%, and that's what we need to take.
Got it. And lastly, when you say neutralize, I just wanted to ask you on the EBITDA front, the range is 10 to 12, right? Our long-term range, that is what is meant by when you talk about the price increase, right?
Yeah, I just said that, yeah, largely if you were to look at our past, our average EBITDA has been at that kind of level. So I'm just saying that, okay, to go back to what we were in the past, that's what we need.
Great. Thank you so much and all the best.
Thank you, Pratik.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Disha Sheth from Anvil Research. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah.
Hello, Disha.
So, hi. So I wanted to check that since the international rubber is at 135 and we are Indian rubber is at 165, can we assume the trend is going down, and if we import more rubber, we will be beneficial? And why is the difference so much?
Kumar, would you like to take that?
No. There is no difference between the international and the local rubber today. What you have indicated is without duty. Rubber is subject to 27.5% duty on a price of 120. So if you add up, there's hardly any difference between the international block rubber and local rubber.
Okay, sorry, I missed that. And secondly, when we say that we take price hike and over next Q3, the margins might go back to normal. So can we assume Q1 was the base margin and now we can cover up with the price hike in Q2 and Q3?
So I would say, I hope that by H2 we will be better. I think we expect some challenges to continue into Q2 because raw material prices are going up. So possibly similar kind of a range in quarter 2, and then second half hopefully will be better.
Okay. And just asking the question again, in terms of demand, can we see, I mean, you were saying that the demand is back to the H2 level, right? I mean, the strong demand is back. Is it the pent-up demand, like, which is back?
It's a little tough to estimate. There is so much volatility in the market, and I'd say it's a little bit difficult to say what exactly is the driver behind the demand. As I said, on the truck side, it's a little bit lower. Passenger car, we are seeing strong levels. I'm sure some of it will be pent-up demand, and therefore difficult to predict right now what exactly is the driver.
And sir, two-wheeler, both OEM and replacement, both is strong or only replacement?
No, replacement is strong. OEM is weak.
And same for passenger, right?
Yes.
Okay, thank you.
Passenger is a little bit better than two-wheeler OEM demand. Two-wheeler OEM is the lowest, relatively. Passenger OEM is a little bit better, but I'm talking largely about replacement being back.
Okay. And you are talking about the coming quarter, right? I mean, the coming month.
That's right. What we are seeing in latter half of June, July.
Yes. Okay, thank you. That's it from my side.
Thank you, Lish.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Dhaval Shah from Girik Capital. Please go ahead.
Hello. Yeah. Hi, sir.
Hello, Dhaval.
Hi. So just one question. How is the intensity of imports now? So we were discussing a year back regarding imports, and then there was this action by the government. What is the scenario currently?
So there's no change. Imports continue to be very minimal.
Okay.
So no real change in terms of increased imports at all that we have seen.
Okay. So there were thoughts that they could route it through Thailand or some other country. Is that happening?
No, not really. There has been high imports, but it's marginal shift. I mean, it was always relative to China. Thailand has, of course, increased because China has come down. but we are not seeing anything happening maybe through Thailand yet. I mean, it could be marginal, but nothing to speak about.
Okay.
As a percentage, of course, Thailand has gone up.
Yes. So is it a point to worry, or would you propose to the government to include Thailand as well, in the import ban list, or that's not to worry about right now?
I'd say as a change matter, it is not increased as such right now, but I think that is a call which we will have to see at an industry level whether we want to propose to the government or not.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Abhishek Jain from Dolat Capital. Please go ahead.
Thanks for taking my question, sir. So how is the revenue mix for the PCR, two-wheeler and TNB in first quarter?
Revenue mix of, PCR?
Two-wheeler and TNB in first quarter.
Can I get back to you on that? You are talking about overall across all categories?
Yeah, across all categories in first quarter.
Okay, I can get back. I think about truck and bus would be around 35%. Two-wheeler will be around, I think, 25%. Passenger car will be around 15%-ish, approximately level.
Okay, sir. And farm
and then the balance will be all other categories, approximately.
Okay. And sir, how much is the current system inventory at the end of the June 21? Is it normal level or higher level?
Kumar? Inventory levels, I think.
No, inventory was higher. As of June, 30th June, our inventory was higher by about 180 crores over 31st of March. With a mix of both raw material and finished goods. 2/3 of it is finished goods and 1/3 of it is raw material over 31st March level.
And how many days inventory is lying with this dealers right now?
No, I don't think there's any change in that inventory. I think this inventory buildup happened at the factory at CEAT locations on account of drop in demand. Okay, and in fact June was lower than May. Okay, we're taking corrective action to bring it back. No change in the inventory level at the dealers level.
That's right.
Yeah, it's only our own inventory. It's because the demand drop happened suddenly. It took time to react the inventory levels down. In quarter 2, we would bring the inventory level back to the normal number of days it's here.
In all three categories?
Yeah, mostly. What we did is that in order to bring the inventory, we cut down the production in the month of May. But now that the sales is coming up to the normal levels, okay, and any excess inventory that we have at this point in time will get consumed. Okay, and it should be fine. If quarter 2 is a normal quarter, I think inventory by end of the quarter would be normal.
Okay. Sir, my last question is related with the import ban. Sir, domestic players is getting benefit of this especially in the PCR premium segment. So how long this benefit will avail by the domestic producer as MNCs will start to ramp up the domestic production in the ensuing quarters? So how much benefit these domestic players will be able to avail?
Right. I think it will take. It's not easy to set up capacities and ramp it up so fast. Sorry. So I'd say for example, if you're talking about Chinese tires, etc., I don't think they are going to come into India. The MNCs who are already there, some have capacities and they have been selling. Some are only producing one kind of tire, for example, truck tires. Now, for them to set up a passenger car tire plant, they have to first of all announce that. Then they will look at further investing and setting up a plant takes at least 2 years' time. So I don't see any substantial shift in terms of production in-house from MNCs.
Thank you.
I think you'll get to know it in the papers when they announce. whenever they do, if they do.
Okay.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Shweta Jain from ANS Wealth. Please go ahead.
Hi, sir. Thanks for giving this opportunity. Sir, I have two questions. One was just a clarification. I think in one of the query to one of the participants, you said that, if we take another 4 to 5% price hike, we'll come back to normal EBITDA margins of 10 to 12%. So can we safely assume that, we are looking to aim at, closing FY22 at these margins, 10 to 12% kind of EBITDA margins?
I'm not talking about an average margin for the year. I'm talking about average margin for that specific quarter. So say, for example, if we are, I'm not even talking about quarter 2 because if we are taking something in August or September, I'm talking, say, for example, going on to quarter 3. If we are able to take this kind of price hike in quarter 2, we will see a normal quarter 3 in terms of margins, say 10 to 12% margin.
Okay.
And for the year, I think difficult to predict because it depends on how things pan out. But if you're assuming 10 to 12 in H2, you will have to take the lower margin in, say, H1 to average it out.
Right. So what is the key deterrent in, for us for not taking the price hike? I just want to understand that.
I think it's a competitive world largely, and there is a certain lag that happens when raw material prices go up. You're not able to pass it on immediately to customers, and it happens in a phased manner. And I'd say it's just competitiveness.
Okay. So thanks. And my second question is, I think you also mentioned in one of the answers that we are seeing a slower increase in demand in the truck segment. But in the last call, if I'm correct, what you guided was we are planning to increase our truck tire capacity by 40%.
Right.
So and we are seeing a slower increase in demand. So if you can just throw some light as to, in one hand we are seeing a slower increase in demand, but we are increasing our capacity by 40% in this segment. So how does this correlate?
Right. No, I think here there is a difference in timeline that we are talking about. So when we're talking about increase in capacities, we're talking about we announced a further capacity increase which will take 20 months to come up. Therefore, we are saying in the longer term, we expect truck to, of course, revive. When I'm saying truck demand revival is weak, I'm talking about very short-term month of post-COVID wave 2 impact as of June and July. So it could easily revive going forward into August, September, which will not have any longer-term impact to what we are talking 15 months, 20 months hence. So when we take capacity decisions, they're based on long-term macroeconomic trends. And what's happening now is purely a here and now effect of the virus and near-term economic impact.
Right. Okay. Thank you so much. That helps a lot.
Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Mayur Milak from Bank of Baroda Capital Markets. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. So, we did saw your other expenses really come off. I was also trying to understand that this quarter would have had the payment for the IPL as well, right? Or because of that cancellation, we could save some money on that. So what is the status on that thing?
Yes, so IPL, we pay to the extent of the matches or percentage of matches that were held. And again, when they come up in September IPL, we will incur the expenses. This is largely of the strategic timeout that is there. We are not doing any advertising, at least in the month of April. Now, for the month of September, it's a call that we'll have to take. But right now, it is purely the cost of it gets apportioned based on the number of matches or percentage of the IPL event that was held.
So is there a chance that your Q2 may see a added cost of what we reported on the other expenses over Q1?
Yes, I think advertising will certainly increase. Q1, we cut down our advertisement to much lower levels. And we may look at advertising, particularly with cricket season coming in. We will see an increase in advertising expenses.
Right. So do you maintain the 2% of sales kind of number for your advertising spend, or you believe that
Yes.
demand is good enough that you can maybe?
No, it's irrespective of demand. We will continue to maintain our marketing spends at these kind of levels. As I said, here and there, a few quarters where demand really gets affected, we will cut it a little bit, but in general, we want to maintain it.
All right. And on the second thing, recently heard that Continental is now planning to give a 5-year warranty on its TBR. Do you treat this as a serious, event that maybe all domestic tire manufacturers will also want to look at? How important is this warranty in the replacement market?
I think we'll have to further study this to understand what kind of warranty this is. Is it a mileage life warranty? Is it against wear and tear? Because if there is any damage to the tire, there is a certain replacement or adjustment or giving back we do to the customer ourselves. And so does, I believe, the industry as well, largely. So I think we need to further understand it and get back to you.
All right. And thirdly, on the demand side, so when you say there's a 20% fall in demand sequentially, have you witnessed this demand as a bigger fall in the replacement, or you think replacement is still on a positive growth? I'm assuming that last year we've already seen the advantage of lower imports, and that should be in the base. So the base should already be high in the replacement market. On that base, have we seen a growth or we've seen a decline?
So as I said, sequentially from Q4, we saw a decline in the months of April, May. And April, May was because of the second wave. So suddenly there was a clear slowdown in OEM demand. We saw, as I said, negative 30% in OEM, negative 20% in replacement. Markets closed down. But this has started recovering in the month of June, July onwards.
All right. Yeah, that should be all. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Ashutosh Tiwari from Equirus Securities. Please go ahead.
Yeah, hi. Firstly, on the export side, have been able to take price increases required in export markets, or there also there's pressure in margin?
No, exports we have been able to take price increases better than the replacement segment. So we are more optimistic and about exports in terms of price increases.
Okay. And secondly, I mean, you talked about maybe this kind of price increases were seen 11, 12 when there was a big increase in the RM prices. So if I talk about industry, I mean, if you can talk about the industry then versus now, because that time I think among domestic players also the number of players were larger. I think Birla also was quite big, almost 10% market share at the time. Now they're almost not there in the market. So do you see any change in the pricing structure or the competitive pressure versus then? Because I think that the MNCs are more, I mean, they are probably better off in taking price increases. So what is your sense on that?
I'd say competitiveness continues to be high, not major change in terms of industry structure. I agree that it's just one player that has exited or not really there in the market at this point of time. But beyond that, there is no major change. So intensity, I'd say there's no change. I think one thing is that there's been a lot of capital investment done by all players at this point of time. So is that causing price increases also to happen to a certain extent? But there is also a lag. So I expect there to be some margin erosion for everyone at this point of time.
Okay. I got it. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Kriti Sahu from Narnolia. Please go ahead.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, Kriti.
Yeah. Hello, sir. My question is on the expansion outlook the company have, like what we are looking for 1,000 crores, which category plans we will be catering to that, and what is the further outlook for next 2 to 3 years for capex?
Okay. For this year, most of our CapEx will go into the balance for Chennai factory. We'll also be investing in off-highway tires. There's some debottlenecking that we are doing at our Halol factory, and possibly a small amount in Nagpur. So small quantums, but the largest one being for passenger car tires. So that's how largely I would break up the 1,000 crores. Kumar, would you like to share anything on CapEx outlook for the next couple of years?
Going by the current capacity, okay, and what we have already announced in truck and bus radial capacity at Chennai involving 1,200 crores. I think our capex estimate for the next 2 years, assuming that there's nothing new added, approximately about 700 to 800 crores kind of a capex we foresee for the next 2 years. Okay, and we expect some capacity expansion at Ambernath, truck and bus radial as announced we'll spend. And large part of whatever we have announced would get spent by next year. Okay, and that 3,500, we only have about another 800 crores balance, so that will get spent. So range is about 700 to 800 crores based on our current planning.
So 700 to 800 crores per year for next 2
Yes.
to 3
Yes.
years?
Yes.
Okay, fair enough. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you. The next question is from the line of Chirag Shah from Edelweiss. Please go ahead. Mr. Chirag Shah, your line is unmuted. Please go ahead with your question.
Yeah, thanks. Thanks for this. So just one question, Anand. So if you look at the balance 9 months, okay, can we expect a single-digit growth happening between OEMs and replacement combined? And where it would be more tilted according to you for the balance 9 months? Given that second half last year, there was an element of pent-up and which was very strong. Right. Also. So on that high base, do we hope for a high single-digit kind of a growth?
I hope, yes, we are able to get a single digit. Now, high or low is tough. I'd say at least over H2, maybe high single digit will be difficult in volume terms. Value there can be because anyways it's quite inflationary. Price hikes would be maybe over that period. We've spoken about 3-4% price increase every quarter, so that itself amounts to 8% or so because of inflation. So if you take that out, maybe low single-digit growth is possible in volume terms.
Where you would be more tilted between OEM and replacement? Where would you be more tilted towards? The driver?
I would say both could be at a similar kind of level in terms of growth. OEM, of course, last year same time had a lower base. They started picking up around October, and whereas replacement picked up from June itself. So maybe higher growth in OEM for the first until October, and then after that both should be at similar level.
Okay, this is helpful. Yeah, thank you very much, and all the best.
Thank you.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this was the last question for today. I would now like to hand the conference over to the management for closing comments.
No, thank you everyone for your interest in CEAT, and hope you all stay safe and well, and look forward to catching up with all of you once again similar time next quarter.
Thank you. On behalf of Motilal Oswal Financial Services Limited, that concludes this conference. Thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines.